Hello, everyone. Today we will be exploring a new visualization. It's the Hans Rosling Visualization. Um, okay, let me set up over here. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Uh, okay. How do I? Okay. It is. Okay. So. So we have the Hans Rosling visualization. So Hans Rosling is this uh, popular person in the world of visualization. He passed away a few years ago, so this is sort of like a tribute piece um, to Mr. Rosling. Mr. Rosling. Um, so basically, we have a scatter chart with all the countries in the world, and we're looking at two different metrics. So we're looking at the life expectancy metric on the x-axis, which goes from 0 to 100. And then on the y-axis, we have GDP per capita in current US dollars. So GDP per capita is basically every country. Uh, so each country produces products and services, and the summation of those products and services is known as the gross domestic product of a country. And then what we do is, in order to get the per capita amount, we basically divide it by the number of people in that country. Now, life expectancy is basically a metric of um, it gives you an average of, like, if you're from a country, like, what is the average life expectancy that people have. So initially we're looking at 1960, and we're going to go all the way to 2022, I think, for each of the countries. So the circle basically represents the country. So for example, we have India over here. We have a region. So a region is basically, we're using it to categorize the different countries. These aren't continents. These are high-level labels to kind of categorize some countries with similar geographic region or similar cultural influence, or similar, like, um, basically different regions of the world. So we have the population of India in 1960, which was 445 million people. And then the GDP per capita amount back then was $83. And the life expectancy was around 45. So in the 1960s, we have all of these countries. Now, the size of the point represents the size of the population. So the bigger the point, the more people in that country. So the biggest country back then was China. US is also a significant size, and India also has a significant size. Now, in terms of the x-axis over here, right? we have these buckets for 10 to 20, and then we're kind of reducing the size as we approach 100. And then I don't know if this is a log scale, but it's a different way to kind of give a high level bucket of the tens, the hundreds, the thousands, the 10,000s, the 100,000s, and the million. Okay, now, okay, so in terms of the poorest country based off of GDP per capita back in the day was Myanmar. And in terms of life expectancy, we have Sierra Leone with 33, 34 life expectancy. So life expectancy does basically means this is sort of like a number that you can aim for. And lots of people live beyond this age, and lots of people live less than this age. And this is sort of like averaged out. So let's say Afghanistan back in the 60s had a life expectancy of 32. Now in terms of these categorizations, right? So we have so let's start with South Asia. So South Asia is in purple, and we have countries like Nepal, Afghanistan, India, we have Pakistan, I think the other one's Bangladesh probably, roughly in the same region in terms of GDP and in terms of life expectancy. Sri Lanka sort of leads ahead, more in terms of GDP and life expectancy. Now, the richest region is obviously North America and Europe. Now, the US, with a population of 180 million, had a GDP per capita of 3,000 and life expectancy of 70. Canada at 71 life expectancy and 2,250 as the GDP per capita. And we have Bermuda. So as I said, these aren't continents. These are basically regional categories. So Mexico is categorized in Latin America and Caribbean. Now, Bermuda, population of 44,000 and GDP per capita of 1,900 with life expectancy of 67. Now, so I'm going to add Sub-Saharan Africa, which is also on the poorer end, with lots of small dots. Cameroon, Ghana, and South Africa. Then we have Latin America in green. So we have South American countries, Bahama, Venezuela, Mexico. So Mexico has a population of 36 million and GDP per capita in the 300s and a life expectancy of 55. Now we'll do Middle East and North Africa. So Algeria, Iran, Morocco, Iraq, Syria. Then we're going to add East Asia Pacific. So this is your Australia, probably. Australia, population of 10 million and GDP per capita of 1,800 with a life expectancy of 70. So Canada back then had more people than Australia. Uh, okay, more in the East Asia category and the Pacific category, we have China, 660 million, life expectancy of 33, and GDP per capita of $90. And then finally, we have Europe. Okay, now Europe, we have Greece, uh, Italy, the UK, 52 million, and GDP per capita 1400. Life expectancy 71. So North America and Europe sort of were uh, are in sort of like the higher end of the GDP per capita and life expectancy scale, and then regions of Africa and uh, South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa are kind of trailing behind. Now we're gonna sort of play the animation and see how things progress. So we're starting off in 1960. Okay, before we okay, so eventually we'll see these points sort of increase in size and move forward and move up and down. And the reason is that life expectancy is increasing, and we have this like this line with asymptotes to kind of uh, show like this upward trajectory that uh, life expectancies of countries increase when their GDP per capita increases. Um, okay, now in terms of like life expectancy and how it's getting better is because of like some of the diseases like polio and eventually got vaccines for them, and those vaccines were distributed in regions like South Asia and Africa, and those diseases basically caused a high infant mortality rate. And when more and more people started to get vaccinated, then the life expectancy, the averages were increased because smaller kids weren't dying because of those diseases. Better sanitation was another is another better sanitation is another reason for the increase in life expectancy. Okay, let's just go to 20. It should be the same for 2020, 2021. Okay, now it's going to take some time for it to go through all the data points for each year, and then before it finally converges to 2020. Okay, what does the picture look like in 2020? So let's go one region at a time. So we have North America. So the US now has a population of 330 million compared to 180 back in 1960. And the GDP per capita is now at 63,000 with a life expectancy of 77. So in general, like all of the countries have kind of progressed ahead in terms of life expectancy and the GDP per capita. Canada is at 43,000 with a population of 38 million. It's 40 now, I think, in 2025. And we have life expectancy at 82. Um, yeah. Bermuda is a small island nation. Population is now 63,000, and GDP per capita has exceeded both Canada and US. It's just because that the population size is small, right? So I think their major uh, what they produce is it's like a tourism destination, as a popular tourism destination, and life expectancy is 82. Okay, now let's look at South Asia. South Asia, all of the countries have moved from the $100 mark to like the $500 and above mark. So we have Afghanistan, uh, 39 million people, GDP per capita of $500, life expectancy 62, which is doubled. So it used to be 30 something, and now it's like 62. Nepal at $69,000, Pakistan at uh, 1322, life expectancy is 66. Population is 220 million now. India is at 1.4, I believe, 1.4 billion, life expectancy of 70, GDP per capita of 1900. Sri Lanka is at 3900 for the GDP per capita, 21 million people, life expectancy of 76. And then Maldives is leading ahead. Okay, let's do Asia Pacific. Okay, now China has is at 1.4 billion. So India might surpass China in a few years, or maybe it already has, in terms of population. So India is the biggest country now. In terms of GDP per capita, they've moved on to the $10,000 mark and life expectancy of 78. Malaysia is very similar with a population of 33 million. Now, most of the people kind of live closer to the equator, and therefore these two regions have the most amount of people. Um, Thailand and Australia racing ahead at 51,000 and 25 million. Okay, so 38. So Australia has less people than Canada, which is a bit weird. Um, GDP per capita is more than Canada. Life expectancy is 83. Singapore, Korea. Okay. Now, here, let's remove these guys. Okay. Let's do Middle East and North Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa. So Middle East is Iran. Huh. We've got West Bank and Gaza, Jordan. Who's on the Qatar? Qatar is pretty up there. 52,000. Israel is at 44,000 GDP per capita. Um, Life expectancy is, for most countries, it's like above like 60 now. There are outliers, of course. 54. Okay, East Asia. Okay, we've done that. Latin America. Okay, Latin America, Brazil, 200 million. Uh, GDP per capita 6,000. Chile, Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands at 40,000. Okay, want to see who is leading the pack. And in 2020, so Bermuda, Luxembourg, Liechtenstein, 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 and on this end we have Burundi. 12 million people. Okay, so that's the entire world. Costa Rica. Okay, so this is the Hans Rosling visualization. The data set, I've seen a few places which host the same data. So it's from the World Bank. Then I think there's MindGapper. Mind Gap MindGapper, I think that's the website. And then there's the Google Data Explorer also has, well, Flourish has it. So you can just use Flourish. But if you look at the Google Data Explorer, there's more metrics by country available there. Yeah. What else? Yeah, so this is the Hans Rosling visualization, and hope you like the video, and thanks for watching.